So this is what my footage looks like without sunglasses. And this is what my footage looks like with sunglasses on. So for both of those shots, I was shooting at 24 frames per second. I had my shutter speed at 1/50th of a second, and I had my aperture set to 3.4. The only difference between those shots is that for this one, I used a drop-in ND filter by a company called Meike or Meike something. Now, I've always used variable ND filters when shooting in the light. My biggest issue was always that the ND filter was on the front element. And with a lot of the less expensive variable ND filters, they don't have any kind of hard stop. So sometimes you can pass the minimum or the maximum value. And when that happens, you get these weird X patterns. And when something like when I step into the shade occurs, trying to fiddle with the front element of the lens makes it super tough. So you might mess up the focus, and also just trying to see where the actual values are gets pretty tough. One of the things about this drop-in variable ND filter is that it's got a hard stop knob on it, so I can easily just change the values on the go without having to mess with the front element of the lens. And with that too, I can have other filters on the front, like a Moment Cinebloom or Tiffin Black Pro Mist right on the front, and I don't really have to worry so much about smudging it or getting more flares or glares in there because there's multiple pieces of glass in front of the element. Now, as you saw from the first shot, it is a bright day out here. It's about 11:30 in the morning and the sun is bright. Now, typically, if you don't have any kind of ND filter, the only thing that you can do to make your shot a little bit darker is either move into the shade or close your aperture. And obviously, the more you close your aperture, the less separation there's gonna be between you and the background. You're not gonna get so much of that bokeh. Now, this variable ND filter is an EF to EFM type filter, but it can also use EFS lenses. I'm shooting with the Canon M50, which uses the EFM mount, but I can still use any of my EF lenses, EF adapted lenses, or the couple EFS lenses that I have, which is great. Since the ND filter is at the back of the lens, I don't really have to worry about trying to find the right size filter thread or step-up ring. Another cool thing about this filter slash adapter from Meike is that it has autofocus capabilities. So if you have a lens that's using autofocus and using it for vlogging or really whatever, you can still have autofocus available on there, but it also works for manual focus lenses. Now, another cool feature about this drop-in ND filter system is that you can actually remove the variable ND filter and replace it with a clear filter so that you don't have some kind of gap just inside the actual adapter. And that way, if you want to switch between video and photo and you don't want it to be so dark, or you're shooting in a low light situation, you can just remove the ND filter and not have to worry about unscrewing it and doing all of this craziness. You just push the clip buttons, pull it out and replace it. Now, for me, it's kind of a pain because I have a camera cage around my camera, and because of that, the ND filter doesn't just slide out like it's kind of intended to. But it's not that tough to just pop the lens and the adapter off for a second and replace it if I need to. And just to show one more time, right now I'm in the bright light and I'm about to go into the shade. Rather than having to fiddle around with the front element to figure out how to get my exposure good, it was just a nice, easy change to change my exposure with the variable ND filter, with it being built into the lens. As soon as I leave the shade and it gets super bright again, just a quick slide up. Now, obviously, it's gonna be a little tough for me to tell with my sunglasses on, but I think it looked pretty good. And there doesn't really seem to be any kind of color casting. You know, sometimes ND filters give a slight green or yellow. This doesn't really seem to have that. And I've got my my white balance just at the daylight. You'll see everything nicely. Yeah, there's some blown out highlights in the sky, but it's exposing right now for my face in the shade. And now I get back out in the sun and boom, look at that. Everything looks fantastic and easy as can be. Now, this video isn't sponsored, but I will have affiliate links down below for this adapter, as well as a lot of the other gear that I used. If you like this video, drop a comment, hit that like button. Remember to subscribe, and I'll catch y'all in the next. Peace.